Thanks, Emmett. The newly appointed Bay County manager presented an update on the county's current priorities at the First Friday meeting this morning. With 20 years of executive leadership experience in state and local government, Joel Schubert first addressed the crowds by acknowledging County Manager Bob Micah for his last decade in the role and setting the county up for continued success. Schubert then went on to discuss things like public communication, the county strategic plan, annual budget report. Schubert also announced Bay County has the 13th lowest millage rate in the state and plans to only improve that number.
We're continually trying to figure out how to produce or how to get our constituents the same level of service or better in the most fiscal responsible way possible.
Schubert said First Friday is a great way to share with the community plans of action and the great staff behind it.